And welcome to Pulp Mythos. I'm Brian here with Spencer, and we're discussing Fear Street Part 3, 1666. If you're not hit the sub button or the bell, please do so. We got a lot of different content on the channel. Check it out. Leave a comment, leave a like. That really helps push these videos. And let's start, man. I want to start by saying this is full spoilers. We do spoilers on this channel. Um, but before I dive headfirst into those spoilers, I just want to say perfect, not perfect, but damn near perfect trilogy. It was so good, in fact. By the end of the third episode or third film, I was sitting back and thinking, I might rewatch this whole thing in October. It was that good. I was very much into it. Dina is a great modern era, what you would call a scream queen or final girl, whatever you want to call it. Um, yeah, I really enjoyed this film and it stuck the landing. So to me, this is a solid trilogy.
Oh yeah, the ending was what I was most worried about, and prior to spoiling anything, when they talk about when you get halfway through and all the 1666 stuff ends, my worry was over. Like immediately, I was like, okay, I understand what their goal is, what they're shooting towards, and immediately I wasn't uninterested, but I got re-excited. And as the movie was coming to the end, by the time it ended, the first two movies got better in my eyes because of how well they set up that finale. And uh, I really, like you talked about, you complete trilogies. It's one of it, in recent years, it is by far the best in my opinion. But of all time, it's still pretty far up there. I mean, it never went off the rail. Now it's still early. They haven't done Fear Street 14 where it was, Fear Street in space, but they've, uh, as far as right now, it stands as one of the better horror movies that I've seen in a very long time.
Yeah. And we're going full spoilers now. So the thing that was so cool about this one, the first film was almost exclusively, it was all 1994. The second film was mostly 1978 with a little bit of 94, but the bulk of it was 78. This film is about half and half. You get the 1666 up front, and I like that they didn't like pull away from it. Like it was straight. You almost, it's almost an hour film basically of that 1666 story, and then once it ends, bam, it goes into 1994 part two, and you sort of get that final like 40 or so minutes to conclude the film. And the structurally, I thought it was really cool, and I like the fact that they gave us enough time in that first half to get to know these characters because they're very important to the story, specifically Sarah Fear and Hannah Miller. But I also like the fact that they use the actors from the first two films playing the parts of these characters to sort of give you a connection to them. And I think it did a really good job doing that as well.
Well, I think when we saw the preview for it, we were talking about ancestors or whatever. I didn't feel like that's what they were implying, with the exception of the Good family. It showed a lot of people who were. It was basically a lot of the same actors from the first two movies, but I think what it was her building it in her head, because when she looked in, what was it, like the reflection of the water or
Yeah.
whatever, she saw the real Sarah. But when she was looking at everybody else, I think in her head she was connecting the characters. So, and I know we'll get to that part, but when she saw Solomon good, I think what they were trying to portray is that obviously they were connected, they were ancestors, but in her head, she just listened to um, Ziggy tell his whole story. So now she has, these people's, like, how they look, how they act and stuff. She's got all these people's things in her head. So when she's seeing these memories, I think that she was just personifying these people.
One of the cool things about this trilogy is sort of the overarching story. I mean, it's a teen slasher. There's all this violence and everything, but there's a love story, and it carries through all three films. Dina and Sam, and then you also get sort of a reflection of that or a mirror of that back with the Sarah Fear and Hannah Miller, who was that. I guess I don't know if it was Sunnyvale or no, it was Shady Side, the original settlement. So basically, the pastor in Shady Side, his daughter had a romance with Sarah Fear, which basically is what ended up somewhat leading to her death. Um, but yeah, the fact that it was a love story all throughout with Dina and Sam, thought it all worked. Everything clicked. I thought it was a well done sort of backbone of the trilogy.
I agree. It's, it was the central focus, but it worked. It added a really special like element because throughout the first two, Dina's trying to do anything she can to protect Sam. And throughout, the second one, she's trying to protect Sam still. She's basically going to see, we find out it's Ziggy, but she's going to see Ziggy to help her girlfriend. She's going to help Sam. And then throughout the last one, you're personifying that relationship again, um, in the past. But to me, it did such a cool job of, showing not just Sam and uh, Jesus, Dina, but, Sarah Fear and Hannah Miller, how their relationships caused jealousy. And it wasn't just someone being mad. It wasn't just the guy thinking that they were sinful or whatever. He was jealous. What was his name? Thomas. That
Yeah, I can't remember his name.
I think it
Yeah.
was Thomas, which he was also. I want to say I'm trying to remember which person he was in the other ones, but anyway, he basically just called them witches and stuff because they wouldn't give him the time of day. And same thing with the guy that co-signed it, who basically was like, "Yeah, I saw them laying with the devil," because she made fun of him because Hannah shot him down. So literally, they Sarah Fear got hung. Not to, I mean, it was Solomon's plan, but Sarah Fear got hung because of some jealous dude.
Well, yeah, because it wasn't truly Solomon's plan in the
No,
beginning. He was
Solomon,
trying to get her to go along with it,
yeah,
because he liked Sarah, but it was once he realized she wasn't gonna play along, he was just like, all right, she's the enemy, and all the like you said, all these guys who are just being assholes basically were willing to make shit up to get her killed. Um, and yeah, Solomon played it to his benefit.
it not just the jealousy was a kind of running thing throughout this last section, just showing. But to me, and it it was it made you connect to the characters. So it wasn't just the jealousy part of it. It wasn't just the fact that they were looked down upon or cast out or that they were witches. It helped you relate to the characters, and to me, relating to uh, Sarah Fear and Hannah, because I want to call them Sam and Dina, but I'm thinking of the prior version of them. But Hannah and Sarah, their love story, I think, helped connect the love story between Dina and Sam. And I think that was very important coming into the last film because you got a lot of it in the first film. And in the second, it, it was catching up where you're just basically trying to figure out why Ziggy and Nick, like what's their relationship like? Why is it like this? And then you find that out. And the parallels between the two relationships uh, were both kind of explained throughout the first act. So
Yeah,
it's part.
if I had any complaints about sort of the different story arcs, it would probably be that they didn't really visit the Nick Ziggy one. Like, you know what I mean? In the third film, like I thought there needed to be a little bit more because clearly he went out of his way to save her. He did like her, in 78, and he was the one causing all the, all the murder. But I don't know. I just wish there was another line, or they could have had some kind of bigger dialogue with each other that sort of tied into the third film. It just sort of felt like a drop plot line, and
Well,
just a minor complaint.
I don't I agree somewhat, but the part where I felt that it was carried together somewhat is the Sarah Fear and Solomon uh, storyline, where it was very similar to Ziggy and Nick, where they really liked each other. They were, flirting and they had an interest in each other. But then by the end of it, um, it wasn't going to work. And it felt similar to the Ziggy and um, Nick storyline, as well as the Solomon and Sarah, because he didn't like cast Sarah out. He tried to help her initially when he was letting her hide in his house and then just telling the guys to fuck off. But by the end of it, he didn't try to save her. He was just like, well, without her in a way, I get to continue doing what I was going to do. And I kind of felt a similar way with Nick and Ziggy, where he was trying to get her on board. He basically just left her alone, and because of that, that's where I drew the connection as far as that storyline. I think they could have done a better job, kind of retouching on the Ziggy and Nick storyline, but I think that it wasn't their main focus, so they just didn't want to keep hashing it out.
The Everything stems as far as the supernatural elements. It all stems from a book. We don't know much about the book. We know there was a woman in the woods who everyone said was a witch. She had possession of this book. Sarah finds the book at one point. The woman tells her basically, "Hey, the devil's trying to reach out to you through this." We know Solomon steals the book, kills the witch, and uses it to curse Shadyside, basically to help build his own settlement and benefit off of it. Initially, he doesn't. I don't know how to say this. He starts making it. He lost he's a tiny bit sympathetic initially when he's explaining everything because we know that he went to start his own thing. His wife and child died. He lost them. Everything was going horrible for him. So he was looking for a way out. Like I said, obviously he chose a horrible thing to do. But when he was explaining to Sarah, he's like, look, because to me, he was making the argument, look, I know that you have feelings for Hannah, and in this community, that's not acceptable. And like he was trying to make the argument, fuck them. We'll start our own shit. And I was somewhat like agreeing with him a little bit. But then when you think of the cost of it and you look at what by cursing Pastor Miller, and she points this out, she's like, look, he killed all the children in the town. He carved their eyes out. This is, some horrible shit happened. It's not worth it, to have our own thing. So it was an interesting little dynamic there. Didn't have as much time to explore it completely, but it was good for what it was. But just saying that Solomon Good for a moment there, I was understanding his villainy, if you will.
Yeah, because he was willing to not necessarily sacrifice, but he felt as though the good outweighed the bad. Even though when Sarah told him that, my brother died, all these kids died, and he's like, yeah, well, they're gonna die anyway. He didn't have any. He wasn't very sympathetic to the children dying because he felt like it was still for a greater good. And later in the movie, when you have Nick essentially doing the same thing, kind of carrying on this legacy, it became more selfish. So it showed all the different good family members, like why they were doing it and what they were hoping for, and becoming what mayor and these different things to basically better themselves by basically sacrificing everyone that wasn't in Sunnyvale. They, to me, it shows that although Solomon was a evil, bad guy, initially he was trying to do it for the greater good, whereas Nick and the other goods were doing it for self gain.
Yeah, because there was a moment even when Sarah realized that everything was falling apart around her, because of her relationship with Hannah, and that they would be willing to hang them over that, and there's that moment where she's like, I'm gonna get that book, and I'm gonna be I'll do the horrible things that they think I am, and so even she has that moment of sort of like, well, if this is the way the world is, fuck it. I'll dip into the darkness and do what I got to do, which is what Solomon did. Um,
But I wish they, and I think they will because they showed the book getting stolen at the end. Go more into what's in the book because
it's very thick. There's
yeah,
plenty,
it's a
yeah,
huge book. Because you look at uh, Sarah wanting to basically meddle with the dark arts to make sure that her and Hannah can be together. I don't, had she known that all the kids were going to die, she wouldn't have done that either. But she didn't realize what the dark arts entailed, where Solomon clearly did, because when he didn't seem surprised when the pastor killed all the kids, he doesn't know exactly what it's going to do because from what they said, it opens a portal to Satan to basically possess somebody for a period of time, and he just gets to do whatever he wants. And then he fills up the little circle thing with blood, and then he's been paid, and you get all the whatever the deal is that you made with the devil. He fulfills it after he gets his fill of blood. So he had to know that something bad was going to happen, but did he know that the pastor was going to murder a bunch of kids? Probably not, but he had to know that there was some kind of risk involved. He wasn't going into it blindly, where Sarah didn't know. She was wanting to do it to basically save her relationship with Hannah.
yeah. Um, the very powerful scene was, and I didn't really see it coming, but when it was happening, I was like, oh shit, I see how it's going to play out. The actual hanging scene, because she's there and they're going to hang both of them, her and Hannah, and she basically says it was all me. She saves Hannah's life, and she's like, no, it was all me. I enchanted her, and yep, I'm the one. And she's willing to make that sacrifice to protect Hannah, and then also somewhat make this sort of curse basically against the goods, basically saying, I will be able to project the truth, throughout time. And that's sort of her thing, is truth. Truth is the weapon that she uses, and that's what, when Sam or Dina or anyone gets near the bones or the hand, and they start getting those flashes, that's her trying to tell them the story. This is what happened, and this is the goods are the enemy, basically. But that scene was very well done, very uh, sad.
Yeah, and I think that what they were showing is that not only the sacrifice she was willing to make to save Hannah, I think that that was not foreshadowing somewhat, but it helped kind of set the groundwork for what Dina would be willing to do to save Sam. And I think that by the end of it, she didn't have to kill herself, but she she did attempt to let her. She was just better prepared than what Sarah was there in the moment. But she was willing to sacrifice herself also for Sam. And I think that that was kind of the parallel that they were drawing with the two relationships between Sarah and Hannah and Sam and Dina.
The second half of the film, 1994, the bulk of it takes place in the mall, and there's
Oh,
this huge elaborate plan that they come up with to and capture the different killers that are going to come after them, to spray Sheriff Good with the blood, so that the monsters or killers, whatever you want to call them, will kill him. Turns into a chase. Dina and him end up running and going through the caves and everything. But the whole thing is really cool. I love when the offspring kicks in and when they're setting everything up. I love the black lights. I mean, it's a very Stranger Things vibes, or Spielberg vibes. I mean, that one and the same. Almost felt like something from It, also. But
I
yeah,
don't
I loved all the mall stuff.
watching that whole mall sequence reminded me of the mall in the 90s with, Gadzooks and Hot Topic and Spencer's.
Yeah.
And I don't remember the name of the store that was in our mall, but it was legitimately just black lights, black light posters, and incense. That was the whole store. And I don't remember the name of it, but
Yeah.
that's what that whole sequence reminded me of, was just the mall in the 90s, which I am probably like, if I was willing to guess that they probably just went to like a ran down mall, just shot in part of it. There's enough like half closed malls
Oh
to
yeah.
space now where it probably wasn't that difficult.
Yeah, that's probably exactly what they did. Yeah, I don't know, but like you said, there's so many malls now that are basically halfway shut down that yeah, it'd be easy to find one. Um, when Dina finally gets to him, and they have Sam ends up getting loose, and then it becomes a whole thing, and she does finally kill him, breaking the spell, ending everything. And my immediate thought after that was grab the book. And I was sitting, it's funny because the book is sitting on the ground. She's in the room where he does his ceremonies and everything. And the book is sitting right there and they just leave it. And I'm like, what like, even I'm like, why would you leave the book? Especially having experienced the flashback and knowing the significance of that book and the importance of it. And she didn't take it. She just left it there. I it was bugging the hell out of me.
Well, even if she would have tried to burn it and destroy it, or
Anything, yeah.
the fact that she left it, or if they would have just said her try to grab it and then her like be apprehensive because she was scared of it, like it would have made more sense had she reacted to it at all instead of just walking away from it. But in that instance where she just stabbed somebody in the face, I don't know that my first thought would be like, oh, let me grab this damn book. But
Well, my only reason that
it's an entire memory.
it's the memory thing. That's what bothered me, was that she had just had this, out of body experience, and she knows the importance of that book. Yeah, that was my only thing. I was like, you look at what they've been able to achieve with this for hundreds of years, or they 300 years, with this damn book, and you're just gonna leave it. and and good. I mean, we get the one shot where clearly the curse is over because the Sunnyvale guy gets in his car and he backs out and he gets hit by a truck. So there is no longer protected in Sunnyvale. Sunnyvale's probably just a normal town now, and we get to see his house, and he has all this nice stuff, and the goods were living good.
Well, and I thought it was cool showing all the rams and the horns and everything. That was a
Yeah.
good back to the whole satanic thing. I thought it was very interesting.
Uh, this one, I was trying to think. People were saying which film, was the most violent, or had the most disturbing imagery. This one had several sequences that were pretty extreme. The first being the scene in the church where all the kids' eyes
Oh yeah.
are, on a pile. Um, the pig. It's not that it's graphic, but it's not. But it is just the thought of it. The pig eating its babies, and then her going in to kill it. But the most violent graphic scene for me in the entire trilogy is when Solomon cuts off Sarah's hand. When he's stabbing at her and he stabs into her wrist, and her hand is partially cut off, and then that whole sequence feels so damn real. It's shot so well done that it felt like it was really happening. That was to me one of the most violent scenes in the whole thing.
I don't know. I think the most graphic and disturbing sequence was where that guy bit into that rotten apple. That about made me throw up.
Yeah.
But yeah, dude, I legit felt nauseous because have you ever bit into an apple that was like soft or not good? Like, dude,
Yeah.
it like as soon as he did it, I was like, oh, I started getting. I had some trauma, in my past where I ate like a half rotten apple and was like about to throw up.
They did a
But
good job with all the curse and all the food rotting and all that and the animals going crazy. Yeah, all that felt it was getting intense, you know.
I, I, there was, and I don't know the killer, the one that looked like he was half burned, the Freddy Krueger villain. That he made me the most uncomfortable in the 78 film and this one when he was just walking around, like the way that actor portrayed that villain was really not. I mean, they're all the movie monster villain kind of thing, but that one, for whatever reason, felt different to me. Because even Ruby was cool, but I've seen enough of those, why women kill kind of thing, and those shows that talk about like Lizzie Borden and those kind of things. So that wasn't really a new take. You had the camp killer that was basically just like a Jason kind of thing. A lot of the baseball bat kid that was weird. That was super disturbing. And then the giant guy with the I don't know the World War II. Uh, what was it?
Yeah, yeah, the mask.
Yeah, it looked like a not a pandemic, but basically one of the where they put incense in the bottom of it. The because this took place after that, but I'm thinking
Thinking of the
the plague
plague.
plague
Yeah.
now. That's what it looked like to me. But for whatever reason, that the burn victim killer guy that he he unsettled me. It creeped me out.
Yeah, I enjoyed the assortment of killers and the way they were used at different points in the film. I like the lore that was built. I really hope I'm sort of irritated at Netflix somewhat because I really don't think they did a proper job of pushing this. I also don't really think it should have came out in July. I know my only guess is because of the second film being a summer camp. Like that's the only reason. The bulk of the films though take place in October. 94 is the beginning of October. In the film, there's a couple little nods to Halloween. Uh, like when they go to the hospital, there's like I think a jack o' lantern and stuff. I don't know why they didn't release this in October and maybe built it up and maybe had the third film drop on Halloween. I think they should have put a little more advertising out there. And the reason I'm saying this is there are some major reviewers like on YouTube that weren't covering this. Some were, but a lot weren't. It never trended on Twitter. It never, I just don't think it did what it could have done. But everyone who did see it, if you go to Rotten Tomatoes, it's sitting at extremely high reviews. So the people who actually did watch it loved it. Um, but I think it could have been bigger, and I think Netflix somewhat dropped the ball a little bit.
I don't necessarily disagree uh, with the points you made, but the I think that horror. I don't know why I have such a hard time saying horror because it just sounds like I'm mumbling like horror, but
Saying whore.
horror, horror movies aren't very expensive to make, so I don't think that they were too worried about you know it's spending too much on these movies. But I I do agree with the fact that had it been promoted better, it would have drew more buzz. But I think their timing was just because although theaters are open, I went to the theater semi recently. I'm fully vaccinated and whatnot, so I was excited to get back and go to the movies, and it it was great. But there wasn't a lot of things playing, and when you look at the times that stuff was playing, it was very sporadic and stuff. So I think their theory is this was their like summer blockbuster kind of thing. However, then they should have promoted it like that. And
Yeah, yeah.
promoted it, this trilogy, we're going to release one a week for all of summer or all of July. And promoting it that way, you would have been able to kind of, you know, build it up a little better. I think that they will re-promote it come October, but I think their timing was just because there wasn't a lot of other things coming out right now other than like Black Widow. There's not a lot of movies that were hitting theaters at this point in time, so they were just trying to give people something to do over the summer and keep uh you know talking about what Netflix is putting out. And I I loved it, but this is something because I've watched each one of them twice already. And then the second movie or the last movie, I watched the part two, the 94 part. I've watched parts of that like three times. So I've really enjoyed these movies and I will watch them again come October. And I probably, as long as they leave them on Netflix, I'll watch them every October for a while. But I really enjoyed these movies.
Yeah, yeah, I did too, because I was thinking there's a lot of merchandising opportunities for this trilogy. Just the fact you have all these killers, I could see, pop vinyls and Fear Street shirts, and you know what I mean? Like it's something I could see in a Hot Topic. Sort of like how Stranger Things became a massive merchandise thing. And Netflix at this point, they crank out so much original content every week. I don't think they're always thinking that way. They're just trying to get shit out, fill the space, fill the space. And like I said, this is one of those things where I was like, if they had just reworked it a little bit, put it, changed their promotional, maybe put a little bit more money in promotion, um, a little more advertising. I think it could have been bigger, but like you said, October is coming. They may re promote it in October and try and push it, and maybe it'll be a top 10, trending on Netflix in October, because not one of these films even hit number one on Netflix. They all hit the top 10, but none of them hit number
Well,
one.
two and three, like one and two, one hit, in the top 10 for a while. And then when the second one came out, one and two hit the top 10. But it was like I saw it for a couple hours, all three of them were in the top 10. And then
Yeah,
the first one bumped out. But the closest it got, I think, was number three because it was
yeah, I believe it. Yeah,
Virgin. It was like Virgin River, which I
yeah,
had, but the Never Have I Ever. I actually watched that. It's Mindy Kaling, the uh,
oh
lady
yeah, you
author,
watched.
Mindy
Yeah,
Project.
yeah,
Dude, it's funny as shit. But uh, I mean, I still like these movies better. But people are binge watching. It's like a series. It's a show. It's
yeah.
25, 30-minute episodes. So it it's able to draw more numbers, I guess, in their algorithms than a movie. Somebody sitting down and watching it. So I understand why they were higher. But on the same note, like you said, I'm not. I need to take like a class or talk to somebody from Netflix because I don't know how the fuck that they like figure out numbers. Like I don't know how they're.
They have the ability, and I know a little bit of this. They can track every single user exactly what you watch and how much you watch. Even down to like they even have lingo that says like, okay, you watched the first two episodes of a show and then you stop. Like they know what shows do that. Um, so they do have a formula, but unfortunately, we're at a point now where there are certain shows that are huge hits that are number one that pull in lots of viewings and they still cancel them because of production. And so, well, that happened recently with that superhero show. What was it called?
Uh,
You
sure,
Yeah, Legacy.
there you go, dude. I
Like
love that show.
the show was a huge hit. It
Was
was a top
budget.
show, did very well. They still canceled it. It was like $100 million budget, and they were trying to trim down their budgets. And so I don't know. It's a weird thing. That's why a lot of people say that the curse at 2 seasons you're lucky on Netflix, and they'll cancel it. Um, but they're cranking out. I mean, look, I give them this. They do have a lot of original content, but
How about you finish it? Is that what you're saying? Finish your original content,
yeah.
map it out for give somebody a story arc. So I think what would be great is sign a budget. So if I come to Netflix and be like, hey, I got an idea for this sitcom or this show or this dramedy or whatever category you want to throw something into, and say, hey, I need 3 seasons, this much episode to tell a story arc. And then them sign a contract for 3 seasons, this kind of story. Because to me, they have the ability to do it. So if they need to cut the budget a little bit, or hey, you can only use this much money, then be like, all right, well, I'll hire one star actor, and then a bunch of more no names, give them a shot. So it, I think that there's ways to do it. And then if it's super successful, then let them run another story arc, or do something else.
Mm.
But I think it would be great for them to sign contracts for a little bit longer instead of trying to do 1 season things, because to draw people in, they end a season on a cliffhanger. And the Jupiter's Legacy ended on this cliffhanger. The bad guy, you weren't sure, but by the end of it, you're like, oh shit. And then you didn't know why. And then you got a feeling why, but now you're like, well, what are they going to do? And you have no clue now. Because, I mean, there's a
Yeah.
comic, I can go read it, but
And that was one of the good things about this trilogy. I'll give them that. They shot it all together, so you get a complete trilogy. Yes, there's a tease at the end. We see the book get grabbed, but it's the story arcs are complete, and we get the full. The curse is broken at the end. So if they never make another one, it's fine. But I think they will. I think there's probably plans to do more in the future. At least I hope
well,
so.
well, and that's what I said when we talked about the previous two movies, is that when you have a horror franchise, the the fact that you leave the end kind of open is, to me, that fear of the unknown. Like, you don't know what's going to happen, because if it ends happy and you're just like, oh, everybody's good now, nobody's think of in a somewhat realistic situation, and there's no way that someone's doing this book and summoning people, and there's a witch back in the day. Like, they're not realistic, they're not set in reality by any means, but the fear of the unknown and what's to come, to me, makes it more, kind of legitimizes that fear, because now you're just like, well, shit, what's going to happen? And by ending a horror movie that way, it that's a trope that they all do, but I think it's almost necessary for it to work for me. And they did a great job with it, I think.
You could do like, I was thinking the other day about actually after watching this, all the different horror franchises that I enjoy, collect, figures and have the movies and watch them and stuff. And it is funny how they end a lot of them. Like you were saying, like think of well, I'll just use a couple examples. Child's Play. Like Chucky is brutally destroyed at the end of every movie, and yet comes back. Then like they end each film like, no, he was the first one. He's all destroyed and shot up and everything. The second one, he explodes, and then he comes back, and then the third one, he gets chopped up in the fan. Spoilers. We haven't seen the Child's Play movies, but it is weird. Like when they're writing these movies, they have to think, okay, there may never be another one ever again, but there could be, so we gotta have a little wiggle room. And in those films, every time you'd be like, how the hell is he coming back? And it'd always be some dumbass way. But
But that's what I'm saying. When you look at the ones that are more successful, like Halloween, when Michael Myers, they're like, I swear to God, I shot him, blah blah blah, but the body's not there. So it's just like this little thing where you're like, ooh. But it to me, it's, no matter how brutal it was less of to me, that's a better example, because then you look at some of the Friday the 13th movies where, like, space, they like kick him out into space, and like how do you come back from that?
well, I mean that franchise though, and I could do a whole video on that, and we might actually. Friday the 13th coming up in August, and I was thinking there might be something we could do for that.
Jason X.
Um, But
The best.
that's a franchise where you had a period where um he was just straight up a zombie, and then like that didn't happen until like the sixth film. And then once that happened, it was like, well, every film is just a matter of how do we lock him away. So he got like chained up and dropped at the bottom of the lake, and it was no longer a question of how do we kill him. It's just like how can we just lock his ass up till next summer or whatever. And and then he melted in Jason Takes Manhattan in the sewers, which was stupid. Um,
Better if you got ate by an alligator.
Jason Goes to Hell. God, that movie was horrible. How
I
did
was,
he die in Freddy versus Jason? I don't remember the ending
I don't
anymore.
remember either. That my favorite one was still Jason X because it was so stupid,
I saw that
and
in theaters.
so did I. When they when he was in like the virtual reality room or whatever, and he took
Yeah,
the girls and shoved them in the sleeping bag,
yeah.
and then bashed them against a tree, dude, I was crying. I was laughing so damn hard. Like Space Jason, watch out.
Um, but yeah. This franchise ends very well. Solid trilogy, and then like I said, it gives you the little bitty tease for more films, and the fact that these three films took place in different points of history. Shit, you could do a Fear Street movie and say it takes place in 1982. And did you know there were vampires in Fear Street and in Shady Side also? Like, you know what I mean? You've unleashed an idea of supernatural elements. Could have been other shit going on too. Um, and the only thing that would be consistent, especially if it takes place before 94, is the goods. You would have to reference that the goods are around. But
Well, and that wouldn't be hard. You just
no.
basically either reference them or, um, like some of the murders that could have been attributed to like Ruby or any of these other people who were just serial killing. Like you said, vampires. Maybe the vampires took advantage of that, so they got a little wild for a while and were killing people because they felt like they could get away with it. Or there's a lot of ways to tie in lots of supernatural
Oh yeah.
kind of to it.
Yeah, yeah.
Or the demonic one is always my favorite.
There's tons of options if they want to make more. And I would love to. I don't know the budget of these three films, but the fact that they shot it all together and used the same actors for multiple films, they probably didn't pay them shit. Um, I don't know, but I bet they didn't get paid what they should have. Um, but yeah, really solid and great sort of surprise. I didn't even know about it until not that long ago, and probably the best horror movies I've seen in quite some time, as far as new ones.
I agree, and I kind of said that from the jump that this is one of my favorite horror movie franchises that I've seen in a long time, and I look forward to revisiting it multiple times. I've already have multiple times, but again, uh, when I'm in that mood for a scary movie, this is the slasher genre personified, and they do an exemplary job of just pulling it off because one of my favorite horror movies is Hush, and I love that movie so much. But to me, it's a different kind of movie. It's still, a slasher breaking, but it's not the same. This is that campy kind of over the top Friday the 13th style 70s slasher movie, and they do such a great job. But even though they don't steal it, but they take a lot of ideas from other movies in the genre.
Every slasher film
Yes,
is a ripoff.
yeah,
So yeah, that's just part of the genre. The
but
only the only one that I will salute and say, you know what, bravo, you tried some new shit, and that was Scream. Wes Craven tried to sort of flip the genre on its head a little bit. And then when that came out, there was 50 movies that ripped that off.
Yeah.
Some decent, some horrible. You know, of everyone shits on all those slasher films from the 90s outside of the Scream ones. I'm gonna I'm gonna throw my flag down and say that Urban Legends is actually good. I legitimately I saw it not too long ago. I rewatched it. It's a solid slasher film, and you know I would say it's on par with some of the at least the first Scream. Um, I don't
Well,
know, that is way off topic, but if anyone's listening still and you've not seen that film, check it out.
yeah, but I don't remember what you did last summer, so I
Yeah, those
don't.
movies sucked. Those were genuinely bad. And they probably got the most money besides Scream. Like they actually made a decent amount of money.
They had a
Um,
cast.
but Urban Legends, that was a good one. Um, but yeah, the slasher genre, yeah, it's all everyone rips everyone off. The best one ever, hands down, best slasher film, The Burning. That is a brilliant slasher film. If you've not seen it, it is my favorite. That and Halloween.
I haven't seen The Burning.
Oh, dude, it's so good. It's so good. Because the cool thing about The Burning is not only is the villain amazing, his name's Cropsy, but the opening sequence is super violent and gory and over the top. Then it literally becomes just a camp movie for like 40 minutes. Like no death, nothing horrible happens. It's just kids at camp, and it's like comedy, and it's just like a fun movie. And then holy shit, it turns into this brutal massacre. And he kills damn near every kid in that camp. Like there's some graphic fucking scenes. It's horrific. And then the shit ends in a mine where they're like tracking him down and he has a fucking flamethrower. And like the movie's insane. It came out in the 80s. For whatever reason, it just because there was such an abundance of those slasher films, it sort of got, forgotten in time. But hands down, when you look at sort of all the Jason ripoff films, this one is by far better than any of the Friday the 13th. I mean, it's solid.
Yeah, it's something I'll have to like Google and see if it's streaming on anything, and if not, I'll
There's
like.
some major actors in it when they were kids. You'll be shocked. Yeah, I have to. I have it. I think I even have it on VHS. You can get a VCR.
No.
I don't know if I ever bought it on Blu-ray. I have to look. I got it on VHS. But
Holy shit, Jason Alexander's in it.
yes. Uh,
Holly Hunter.
yeah, dude. You got to see it. I have to do it. I thought I bought it on Blu-ray. Shit, I'm gonna have to go looking for it. But all right, anything else?
No. Uh,
If you're still listening, we appreciate it. Yeah, what horror films do you enjoy? Anything obscure or anything, in the slasher genre? We'd love to see your comments on that. Always looking for new content, new things to watch, new things to talk about. Um, so yeah,
Every
uh,
deathbed.
we're not doing
Deathbed.
that. um, anything else?
No, that's it.
All right.
Watch Deathbed.
No. All right. Or Terror Tunes. That's the worst fucking movie I've ever seen in my life. All right. Thanks for listening. We'll see y'all next time.
Bye.
Bye.